So today, something that's similar but different to the Sturmey Archer AW 3-speed, which I've already done before. This is a Hercules Type 5 or Hercules Hub B Type 5. It should be roughly the same as a Sturmey Archer AW, but I have never taken one of these apart before. The main difference you can see straight away is that the cog is not held on by a circlip. It's actually threaded on. So to remove that cog, you would have to somehow stop the mechanism from turning and unwind it, which I guess has to be done when it's out of the hub. So I'm going to go through the same sort of process. I'm going to take off this top section first, where it's got the clutch and everything in, take off the non-drive side to release the bearing on that side, and then hopefully try and get this lock ring, which holds all the mechanism in place, loose and out. And hopefully it'll come off pretty easy. This side should never really be that tight to undo, because the cone nut is actually held in place by a specifically shaped washer, so it won't come undone. So you get your lock nut, one washer, specifically shaped washer, and then the cone. Now underneath here there should be a bearing race, if it's the same as an AW. There we go, and yes there is. I've got the bearing race inside this clutch mechanism, which also has the spring sat inside. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. So you get the spring underneath. Although, it's lucky I took this one apart, because the bearings have just literally fallen apart. The cage has disintegrated inside, so you can just pop that off with a screwdriver. Hopefully it might have to be clamped up first. It's slightly different then. These bearings around the top, if there's anything like the Sturmey Archers, just leave that out and then collect all the bearings. So it helps to have one of these little magnets, telescopic magnets. That's 4, 7, 11, 15, 18, 22, 24 bearings in that race. Okay, and apart from this one sort of cover washer here, we need to actually get the mechanism out to get the rest off. And to do that, I need to flip the hub over. And just take off this side. There's another bearing race in there that you can get out, so that should just, there you go, pop off and get another cage bearings out. And again, they should really be replaced because they're falling apart. Now, the good thing about this hub, we've got these notches on the hub body itself, which is a great old design. So I can just clamp it in those notches. However, if it doesn't have those notches, which the later sort of AWs and that don't have, you can just get some cloth, get some leather or something and grip around the hub body, and it should be enough to hold it. A big hammer, make sure that's up tight, and we're going to try and unwind this. Now, as you can see, it's very tricky. It can be seized in there properly. Finally. Take the top cap off, and then you should, once it's released, just be able to lift the mechanism out in one go, and that's the shell free. The mechanism looks to be exactly the same as Sturmey Archer's. You've got this top section which has two pulls in, and to get those pulls out, all you do is just lever them up from underneath, lift them out and take them out. Lay everything out on your bench as organised as possible. So when you take this out, like that, slip back in, like so. You take your pull out, and then when you take your pin out, when you take your pull out, there'll be a little spring behind it. So if you can grab hold of that spring, there we go, keep it the same orientation. So you've got the wedged face on the inside, the spring has the long edge coming down there, and it also has an edge coming down the face of the pull. Keep that way around and put that on your desk the same. And that top section can come off, that can be cleaned up. Then we can get to the sort of gear changer mechanism, which has already slipped out the back, but there's this little pin here which goes through this hole. That comes out. Top cover comes off, making note of which way around the lips go. And then this collar comes off. And then that frees up this bottom segment, which has 4 planetary gears, which just come out simply by taking the pin out the top, taking a gear out. So you've got the smaller end of the pin on top. And last but not least, on the bottom, if we take this off, flip it upside down, you can take the axle away. you've got two pulls left which need to be levered from the top towards the bottom, or from the drive side to the non-drive side. And again, just make a note of your orientation so you can leave the pin out. So you've got the chamfered end obviously going in. And when you take the pull out, which can be tricky, you have got just a very slight chamfered edge just on there. Take it out. Where's the spring? My spring is non-existent. That can't be good. Leave that out, and I did just see the spring freaking shoot out. Bollocks. Yeah, watch for those springs. Luckily I've got spares. And here I have everything laid out. And I have the springs. Apparently they fired off. I saw it in slow-mo on that second one, taken out, but I've got some spare. I've got spare hubs that I can take them out of. Like those two rusted out dyno hubs. Just stole the springs, and everything laid out as it is, it should keep it in a relatively organised manner. Like, I've taken everything off this way, and these pins can go back in. So the springs on top there, although the spring's sitting on the bottom on these ones, they'll be on top because this bottom section is technically upside down at the moment. It goes in the hub like that. So all the springs sit on top or on the drive side. But yeah, this is everything, so give it all a good clean and then join you in a sec. Okay, with everything cleaned down then, I want to start the reassembly. First thing I want to do is put the bearings back in place, so it'll just make it a bit quicker, a bit easier on reassembly. So before you obviously go ahead reassembling everything, check the wear on all your stuff. I am left with, I'll show you, I've been left with a lot of metal residue, metal dust, metal shavings, however you want to call it. And that is down to the wear on the pulls and on all the little bits and bobs. For example, the selector there, you can see the shiny areas where it's worn, just on that top corner there. The pulls also, it wasn't a bevel on the edges, it was actually wear. So just check the level of wear that you've got before you go ahead reassembling. Mine isn't too bad, it should still function okay, but it is something to look out for. I don't know, I couldn't give you a definitive answer as to what is too bad. But anyway, installing the bearings. So if I get my driver, I've got some fresh bearings, some fresh grease. Just get the grease and just push it in between the new cage. And that should be enough. Plenty, in fact. Drop it in there. And pop the top cap back on. Just going to have to hammer that back into place. Brass hammer, great. Small hammer, good. Okay for a bigger hammer. That just gets knocked back into place there. One bearing seated. Second set obviously go in your hub body shell. Same again. Just get a bunch of grease. Just poke it in between the bearings. Same again, just seat that top in. Okay, that's done. And last but not least, this top race, which has 24, what size are they? They look to be I've completely lost my, what size are they? 532. Try not to get this grease inside the mechanism. So I'm just going to run a thin layer around and wipe off anything on the inside. $24 of these. Okay. And again, just get your cap. Just gently persuade that into place. Okay, perfect. Sweet. Now the reassembly can begin. Got your axle. I'm just going to mount that in place. Obviously slot side up. Now I want to start putting these pulls and stuff back in. So I've got my clean lower body. I've got my Phil Woods grease, or Phil Woods tenacious oil to be more specific. And yeah, the tricky part of this is holding everything in the correct orientation. So I've got the spring pinned between my fingers and the pull, with obviously the long end facing out. Put a bit of the oil in there. Get your pin ready. And you're trying to squeeze it in, still holding the spring so it doesn't fire away again. And there we go, so it all should go together. and that is one in. Same on the other side. Hold the spring in the pool, bit of oil, get your pin ready. And then slide it, hopefully, in. And that's the second one in. And now that can be flipped over, and we'll install the plancher gears. Plancher gears are the same. We're just going to put a little bit of oil just through the centre of each one. Getting your pin and just dropping it in. Simple as that. Okay. That is ready to go on. So just get your oil, put a little bit around this main gear, just so it lubricates it, and drop that on. First part complete. Now we're going to install the gear selector section before we go any further. So you've got your little collar. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease, oil around the collar so it sits on. You've got your little selector, and again, let's put a little bit of oil in that recess. That goes on. Your pin, why not? Pin goes through, and then lastly this little top cap just slots over the top. Next stage is your top, and again we're installing the pulls, so grab your pull how it's going to go in. Got the long side facing in here. I'm going to poke it through, and the spring is on top this time because this is the right way up. So a little bit of oil in the hole. And that's locked into place. Same on the other side. Oil in the hole. You can trap the spring first on this side, unfortunately. There we go. And then that is in. And now this is going to go on top of the main mechanism. So if you just put a dab of oil just on each plancher gear, it just helps with the lubrication. So that is going to sit on top like so, and then when it all spins together, that little dab of oil should lubricate it. Of course, the next stage is just to get this top piece, and if we put a little bit of oil just on the tip of the pulls, that is going to drop on there, but we need the body now. We need the body back. So you've got your body. Going to put a little bit of oil just on those pulls. Drop your body through, and you need to get it so that the bottom set of pulls lock in to the shell, because the shell's got casing, marks on it. Otherwise you won't be able to screw this top in, which is the case at the moment. So take that off. It's a little tricky. There we go. So I just rotated it slightly anti-clockwise and it dropped in, so now it's all level. And now this, there we go, should, oh, before that gets done, important, let's put some oil definitely around that part. There we go. And that is back in. We're just going to get a hammer and punch just to nip it up. Okay. And then get your clutch, oh no, spring. Spring is next, almost forgot that. Then get your clutch mechanism and your driver. That goes on and locks into place. It's best at this point if you just lift it up. Clamp the axle up again. Cone nut is just going on to secure everything. Now, that's done up tight, so that ain't going to move anywhere. I'm going to be going with this next washer going on is obviously the special one that slides down the flats and locks this washer in place. So at the moment it's still a little bit stiff there, so I'm just going to back it off another quarter turn, so there's a little bit of play in there, and that's where I'm going to have it because I can take up the play in the other side. Okay, flip it, cone, want to check for play. At the moment that's just sat there pretty much perfect. There's going to be a tiny little bit of play in these Sturmey Archer or Hercules hub, so that it doesn't have so much wear. And I mean a very tiny bit. Remember, this side hasn't got that special washer, so you can adjust everything with the cone spanner, which is 16mm. Probably have to grind it down as well because these designs are not suited for regular height cone spanners. Now I can hear that drag a little bit, so I'm going to loosen that off. That's better. And there is just a very slight amount of play in there, but without that there's a lot of drag inside this hub. And there we go, that's all ticking away nicely. That's serviced. That should live on for a bit longer. And that is how you service a Hercules B Type 5 hub, manufactured by the Hercules Cycle and Motor Company, Birmingham, England. Job done. If you don't like this threaded top driver section, obviously the standard Sturmey Archer standard Sturmey Archer driver with the circlip and everything can just be swapped over. You don't have to stick with that, so it should be roughly transferring everything from the circlip type driver over to this one. So you take off the driver, put in the circlip type, have all the sort of washers, the circlip, the cog, everything on top, and all the nuts are going to be the same on top of that. So you'll have the cone nut, special washer, spacer and lock nut. But that is something else you can do if you so desire. But there we go, that is one hub done, ticking away nicely and can be used again. So I hope you find this video useful, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Like and subscribe for more.